What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Fantasy Football Advice Network. Today's video, we're doing a 2024 Dynasty tiers and rankings. It's going to be a tier list of the 2024 rookie class, a very interesting class side. And again, these are all my opinions. You can see to the right of me right here that it's only my opinion. You know, these are going to be rankings that are I do have some prospects that are lower on my list than maybe your list. You can kind of talk to me. We can actually decide which is the best player down in the comments below. But this is going to be fun. The players we're going to be doing, the listings we're going to be doing is the 2 QB PPR league. I have in parentheses tight end premium because it's kind of tight end premium. I'll talk about it. But if you're in a tight end premium league, I will tell you what I would probably do and what's probably the smartest move to do moving forward. But yeah, let's get started with number one in the S tier, Caleb Williams. And I say number one, but really the people are interchangeable when it comes to the tiers. Basically, what, in my opinion, a tiers and rankings list mean is where you should bet on the talent. For me, when you look at the people in these tiers, you'll have Caleb Williams here. Maybe you have somebody else in the S tier we'll talk about in a second. And depending on draft capital, who goes first. Or, for example, in the D tier, let's say somebody has a really good capital, and then somebody in C tier has horrible capital. Well, who are you going to pick? Well, depending on what you do, you could definitely base it on what it would be. But I would bet the kind of tiers is kind of breaking when you should bet on the talent rather than the draft capital. But for S tier, Caleb Williams, easily going to be right here first. Number one pick in the draft, somebody that has the rushing upside, someone that can pass the ball, someone that's going to go into one of the best offenses in the I don't say one of the best offenses, one of the best offensive situations a number one pick has had over, I want to say, even decades. People don't understand this. People always want to say, well, Chicago Bears are so bad, one of the worst teams. They can't form a QB. They can't do anything like this. They have not had a prospect like Caleb Williams that has been able to do rushing, able to extend a play, able to improvise for somebody. And Caleb Williams having the ability to go to a team that wasn't even the worst team in the NFL, was the ninth worst team, and then got all the offensive talent they could for this guy. Caleb Williams has the best chance to succeed, in my opinion, going to the Chicago Bears. Up next, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is kind of going to round off what the S tier is. These two are, I want to say, generational. And I do believe that is a term that does get overused at times, but I do still think they are generational. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a prospect that, you know, he's making somebody like Kyle, why am I blinking out on his name? Kyle McCord look like a great quarterback for Ohio State, getting crazy touchdowns when that offense was not an amazing offense for Ohio State when it's known for that amazing offense. And that could be because of the QB talent there, which a lot of people want to vote on, which I would agree. And then the weapons around it also helping it boost. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is obvious the choice for me for being the generational prospect when it comes to the wide receiver. And this wide receiver class is something that's going to be outstanding, in my opinion. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be somebody that has great draft capital, has a great upside pick with it being probably a top 5 pick locked, in my opinion. I would be shocked if he falls to 6. And somebody that is going to be probably a day one starter with wide receiver 1 upside immediately, depending on if somebody trades up, which Daniel Jeremiah has said that the Jets could be people to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr., which would be horrible for fantasy wise. But the spots for Marvin Harrison Jr. right now are looking like the Cardinals, the Chargers, or if a team trades up, which I doubt. In both of those situations are great situations. Chargers probably better than Cardinals, but Cardinals is still not bad. I still would keep him in this S tier above others. Talking about the others, we'll go in the A tier, Jaden Daniels and Drake May. I'll add them right now. There is one more person, but I'm going to talk about them too because they are interchangeable for me. And this really does goes off of draft capital. Like I said before, the tiers mark where you should bet on talent or not. when they're in the same tier, draft capital can change the whole rankings. For me, if Jaden Daniels or Drake May go number 2, it probably switches automatically who goes to the A tier, especially if the Patriots do not go, wide receiver, in round 2. And maybe even if the Patriots trade the pick. I think if the Patriots trade the pick and like the Broncos trade up, not maybe the best. Now, if the Vikings trade up, we have an interesting situation where you could potentially go whoever it is with your third overall pick in the draft, because when you're going to the Vikings, you're getting Justin Jefferson, you're getting Jordan Addison, you're getting a great offensive-minded coach, you're getting somebody that is going to create has kind of a playbook that Kirk Cousins had and can learn from that type of ideals, type of culture around. I feel good with the Vikings having 2 wide receivers that will make plays and will be the one that helps a quarterback in the future. But for me right now, when we're just talking about prospects, I'd rather go Jaden Daniels because of the rushing upside. A lot of people have been hating on Drake May during this draft process. I still think that he could be the guy that is the best, even out of Caleb Williams in the future, with his amazing passing ability. But when it comes down to fantasy, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be the guy that has the most ceiling. And when I'm drafting at a position at like number 3, and let's say Jaden Daniels goes to the Commanders and Drake May goes to the Vikings, I might be looking at that and saying Kiffin often. I said Lane Kiffin. I said this the other what is it called? The other video. Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know why I get the 2 confused right now. Probably the Kiff in there. When you're in his offense and you have the running ability and Marcus Mariota there to coach you, I think I would still go Jaden Daniels because of that running upside. It matters a lot when it comes into fantasy, and it's going to matter truthfully. Up next for me is Malik Neighbors in the same tier. I think Malik Neighbors is in an own tier when it comes to the S, the A, the B tier, because it just matters a lot with draft capital. I almost wanted to put him at B, or I wanted to put someone else at A, which we'll talk about in a second, but it doesn't really make sense. I don't think that's something that we should be doing as fantasy players, because Malik Neighbors has had an amazing pro day, has shown that he can be the wide receiver 1. A lot of teams value him as the wide receiver 1 in this draft class, and to me, it kind of just matters where he gets picked, because we see all these mock drafts having him, Patriots choose Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Malik Neighbors go 4. We have these mock drafts going to the Chargers, which would be insane. We have people trading up, so then he goes to the Giants, which is, Then we have him falling to the Falcons or to the Jets, and we're like, even worse. So with that in mind, Malik Neighbors being in this A tier just makes sense, because I can't move him up thinking about I can't think about I have to think about where his draft capital is going to be. That's why he's moved up here and stays here. But when we're talking about just simply him, no draft capital at all, I would still probably put him in A tier, and I could see him going ahead of Jaden Daniels and Drake May for that reason. Up next for B tier, we have Rome Odunze, somebody that is kind of in that conversation with A tier, because Rome Odunze is just a player that can run routes excellent, knows what he's doing, he went to the combine and honestly helped his stock a little bit, didn't hurt at all. He's somebody that is also a lot of people liking over Malik Neighbors, which is crazy because we've had all these people talk about Malik Neighbors is wide receiver 1. Oh, Rome Odunze could go ahead of Malik Neighbors in a lot of these drafts. That's what we're seeing. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. is undoubtedly wide receiver 1. It's just his wide receiver class is so stacked. It's going to really depend on draft capital for at least Malik and Rome. I've talked about this in my Dynasty rookie mock draft, that when you look at when it comes down to it, we're going to probably pick Rome or Malik off of draft capital. Because if Malik goes to the Giants and Rome in my mock draft went to the Cardinals, I'm picking Rome, because Malik Neighbors does not have a solid QB, and it's probably going to be next year a rookie QB, something like that's going to come in and maybe help. And then other than that, it's like, what's going to happen from Malik, you know? It's like the Garrett Wilson thing that's going on. Granted, he just got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, but when Garrett Wilson was first coming, or actually, it's like Chris Olave. Chris Olave is such an amazing prospect, but he has Derek Carr as his quarterback, so we're still like kind of iffy on him, and he's kind of locked in with Derek Carr. Rome Odunze being locked in with Kyle Murray, I would take over Malik Neighbors being locked in with Daniel Jones and maybe another quarterback later on. Up next for the B tier, we have Brock Bowers here. And, you know, tight end premium, I wouldn't hate you if you have him up higher over Rome Odunze. I would probably kind of when it was Malik Neighbors. Both Brock Bowers, we're probably looking at the best all-around tight end prospect. Maybe not ever, but definitely in a long, long time. I know people say Kyle Pitts was a better prospect, and for fantasy, I would 100% agree with you that he is definitely the better prospect when it comes to that. But when we're looking at all around, I would probably choose Brock Bowers because it's somebody that can block and is very good at blocking, somebody that can catch and is very good at receiving and very good at yards after the catch. So when we're looking at that stuff for tight ends that matter a lot, it's going to be Brock Bowers over Kyle Pitts, who Kyle Pitts cannot block for his life. But where does Brock Bowers go? And that's another big thing. All of this kind of matters. I keep saying it. I keep saying draft capital, and it's so true that draft capital can fully change these rankings. Brock Bowers has been mocked all the way to the 5th pick with the Chargers, and now probably down to, at the latest, the Dolphins at 21. I would not be shocked if the latest you've seen is the Bengals. But that 21 is where it's kind of outrageous if he goes 21. And I want to say, with his like kind of lingering injury that has kind of kept him out of this pro day, kind of kept him out of all of this other combine stuff, that is a red flag for most teams. And that could be something that we see because of the positional values already hurt, because Brock Bowers has had this lingering thing that he might fall. But if he does fall to the right team, it's going to be way worth it for us, and I'd be fine with Brock Bowers being on my team if he falls that far and goes to the Bengals or the Dolphins and still picking him up higher. Up next, we have the C tier, and again, you got to look at what's been happening with the NFL recently. For me, the first person we're going to talk about is J.J. McCarthy. I like J.J. McCarthy to an extent where he is somebody that's young, has had winning teams, has had, a great arm, has had athleticism and can run. And all those aspects are going to create a decent quarterback and a prospect. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of other prospects I like better. Now, I have seen some crazy stuff, and I bet you have too, of J.J. McCarthy potentially going number 2 to the Commanders, and that's real, and Daniel Jeremiah says it's real, and not a Will Levis situation or a Mac Jones situation. And I would not be shocked if J.J. McCarthy does get picked in the top 5 if a team trades up. After hearing all this. And with that in mind, he's going to skyrocket up these tier rankings. But when I'm looking at the prospect right now, and that's mostly, I know I was saying that Malik Neighbors in Rome, we're looking at, the draft capital. I would still put Malik in his own tier, Rome in his own tier, but it's very close. It's just when draft day comes, you're going to probably switch. J.J. McCarthy is somebody that, if he does get the right draft capital, he's going to skyrocket up these rankings, and that's just how it is. Because if you are getting picked 4th or 5th in the draft as a QB, chances are you are going to start either not right away or in your first year. And that's just how it's going to be. And maybe there's some people that are like, especially in a super flex, you got to pick. If this is one quarterback, probably don't till way, way, way late. I don't blame you. I'd probably take some other people. But if you're J.J. McCarthy, or if you're looking at J.J. McCarthy and you're thinking, what can I do? Should I pick him? Should I not? If he goes to the Vikings, you have to pick him at like top 5, top 6, depending on other spots. Let's say take away Caleb, Marvin, Daniels, and May. And you have Malik, Odunze, Bowers, McCarthy. And McCarthy goes to the Vikings. Odunze goes to the Jets. Malik Neighbors goes to the Giants. And Bowers goes to the Colts. I would probably take J.J. McCarthy with the 5th pick because J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings with no QB help at all other than Sam Darnold ensures that I think J.J. McCarthy will be the quarterback there for the future. Up next in the C tier, we have Brian Thomas Jr., somebody that has been my 108 kind of pick for a while, but last mock draft you saw he followed to 110 because some craziness happened. But Brian Thomas Jr. is, to me, the 4th wide receiver no matter what. I do want to put him in his own tier because of how he went as a combine, as a tall guy, like 6'3", 6'4", going a 4.33, which is insane. Somebody that is that deep threat, but is tall enough to be, can kind of go with a 50-50 ball if he absolutely has to. And that's going to win over teams in the NFL. And I just kind of, he's been he's been teammates with Malik Neighbors for a while. And actually not a while, more like a year or two. But those people, you had Jaden Daniels as your QB and both of them together. Does matter a lot when you look at the NFL draft, looking at their college career, seeing them together. You have somebody that could have easily won wide receiver of the year next to you. Does take away a lot. And he still had a very, very productive season, which is so great for Brian Thomas Jr. I would be shocked if he doesn't get picked in the first round. I'd probably be not as shocked if he got picked in the top 20. I would be shocked if he got picked in the top 10 or anything even close to that, but we'll see. But Brian Thomas Jr. does finish off the C list. For the D, this is going to be a long list. I first have Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy to start it off. I do want to talk about these two because when we go to this tier, anybody in here, my last guy can go all the way to number 1 in this list if it was draft capital. Same with the F tier. No matter what, this tier is fully just if a team gets a great guy and a great fit, the guy can skyrocket all the way to the number 1 in this tier. But these two first, Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy are first because I want to talk about the chances of both of them going to certain teams. Adonai Mitchell going to the Bills. Perfect fit. Xavier Worthy going to the Bills. Perfect fit. Now, if one of these teams would go to one of these players would go to the Ravens, we're kind of freaking out a little bit because Zay Flowers is there, but Zay Flowers the true wide receiver 1? Don't know. But I do want to say Adonai Mitchell had an amazing combine that kind of gets swept under the rug because of Xavier Worthy having this amazing combine, breaking the 40-yard dash record. And to me, Adonai Mitchell is still the prospect that I would lean towards. You have a guy that's a bigger frame, the guy that can still run really, really fast, somebody that can, had some problems in college with drops maybe and his hands, but somebody that you can still bet on. He is a better prospect than Xavier Worthy, in my opinion. That Xavier Worthy, yes, he has speed, but there's so many issues with him. He's not somebody that is as tall. I don't know. But let's say Adonai Mitchell goes to the Ravens and Xavier Worthy goes to the Chiefs, and I'm probably looking at Xavier Worthy. Well, he's probably going to be wide receiver 2 for the future, maybe wide receiver 1 with Rashid Rice right now. I would go with Xavier Worthy right now over Adonai Mitchell. But again, I would still go Adonai Mitchell when it just comes to the prospect. Up next, we have Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. close together. Again, these are both two people that I think are interchangeable. If Bo Nix goes to the Broncos and Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Rams, of course I'm going to go choose Bo Nix. If one of them gets picked in the first round, I'm picking whoever goes in the first round. Right now, it's looking like Michael Penix could be the one that shoots up the board, and I would probably put Michael Penix behind the 2 other players I have to finish off this list. But with how he had a great pro day and how teams are now thinking that he's a for sure first-round talent, which I think is just smoke, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be somebody that has high upside, that can pass, ran a great 4.5 something, which was the official time, other than the unofficial 4.43 or something like that. Michael Penix Jr. is somebody that I could see in the first round. I could see both of these players, somebody train up at the end of the first round to pick them. But it is just hard to say, Bo Nix is, the next quarterback on here because it's Bo Nix. Well, if Bo Nix goes to, let me just say the Rams again. Bo Nix goes to the Rams. Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Broncos. How are you not going to choose Michael Penix Jr.? Let's say Bo Nix is you say Bo Nix is a guy. Bo Nix goes to end of round 2, Michael Penix Jr., end of first round. I'm going Michael Penix Jr. It's the same way right there. But when it comes to a prospect perspective, I'd probably choose Bo Nix because Michael Penix Jr. has had all these injuries. It's a big red flag, even though he did come back from it. And Bo Nix was with one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in college football last year. Up next, we have Jonathan Brooks. Right now is my RB1. I would not be shocked if my next guy, Trey Benson, takes over it. Trey Benson has been somebody, though, that is killed the combine. I mean, somebody as tall as him running like a 4.39, something like that. Something around there. I want to say actually like 4.33. Something, I'm forgetting the numbers, which is just crazy. I think this is day 2 players. Like, these guys are going to be selected day 2 no matter what. I would not be shocked if it's the second round even. But with Jonathan Brooks, the ACL injury is a big scare. I think if he didn't have it, you could see him for sure being the RB1 without a question mark, and no one else would try and kind of go at you for saying he's RB1. But Trey Benson is also somebody that can catch, can run with the ball, has a receiving upside. Jonathan Brooks as well has some receiving upside there. And I think these guys are 3-down guys in the future if they go to the right situations. Now, is that situation going to be perfect? We don't really see all 3-down guys nowadays. The only guys we really see that is like McCarthy. And did I say McCarthy? McCaffrey. I was looking at JJ McCarthy right when I said that. The 3-down guys, though, for me, it's very hard to pick them out and choose them out, but I do think that these are, out of everyone in this class, has the highest upside to be a 3-down guy, but you're probably looking still at, splitting some reps, but that's okay in today's NFL. Ranking F, which I skipped E, but, who puts E sometimes, And I'm not saying these guys are F guys. These guys are just in the next tier. Keon Coleman is here because he's my number 1 here because I still believe in Keon Coleman. The upside's too high for you not to bet on Keon Coleman with his athleticism, with his ability to catch the ball. Who was the coach that said? I forget which college football head coach said that he was a man made by God. Like, God put him and picked everything well by him. With his athleticism, he can run the ball fast. Keon Coleman just has issues with, catching the ball, period. And the numbers aren't going to help him when it comes down to the end of the year. I would still pick a Keon Coleman here, but, the other guys ahead of him have proven to be at least a little bit better than Keon Coleman. And everyone was like, oh, Keon Coleman, wait till he gets to the combine. He's going to really excel at the combine, show he's an athlete. And honestly, hurt his stock even worse. So now it's kind of a huge red flag for me, but that to pick him really up higher. So right now I'm just going to keep him down here, keep him down low. Up next with Troy Franklin, same kind of thing. Did not do that well. Troy Franklin is somebody that is also a little undersized, kind of scared about that. I think he's going to be more of a downfield threat than more of a receptions guy, which is another thing for fantasy you don't really like. Ladd McConkey up next is somebody that I think can be that reception guy. And I like him more than, some of these other prospects, but I have to, bet on the talent that they've had. Troy Franklin and Keon Coleman had talent rather than, where people go. If Ladd McConkey has a great spot, I'm shooting up Ladd McConkey no matter what. Because we didn't really see that much of Ladd McConkey, but he did show flashes that will definitely make us decide on where to pick him. But for now, I'm going to have to put him behind the 3. And then next we have Blake Corum and Jalen Wright. I wanted to add them both onto this list. I was debating on putting them in the next tier, but I do want to put them here as your next running backs because I think with the right situation, Blake Corum can excel at being somebody that
can just squeeze in and run. He's never going to probably be that 3-down guy, but definitely somebody that can split carries, which I think if you're looking at a late pick like this, that's fine with you. And then Jalen Wright here excelled at the combine, had a great day. The NFL grades have him as a potential one day will be a starter for an NFL team. I don't know if I would say that, but I do see that could be a factor in his future. And with the right situation, we'll probably see him excel. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to ask them, and I'll be able to answer them. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.